Welcome to Week in Horror.
All right, you primitive screwheads, listen up.
The podcast that deep dives all the films you love.
You gotta be fucking kidding.
The week they dropped in horror history.
We all go a little mad sometimes.
With your horror hosts, JL. When a shirtless Sam Elliott with no mustache takes out an alligator with an oar, that's the kind of movie I'm looking for. Eugene.
And we're just casually just like, yeah, so this is probably the best way to go, light someone on fire with gasoline.
Alex.
It would not be an original lineup if I didn't have fucking technical difficulty.
Johnny O.
Now, it's not an Amityville, or wherever, it's Amityville.
And Aaron.
They got manure to work with and nothing grew from it.
News, trailers, trivia, special guests, and more.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Live show every Wednesday, 7 p.m. Central at youtube.com/weekinhorror.
Welcome to prime time, bitch!
And wherever you listen to podcasts.
One by one, we will take you.
Week in Horror. Stay scared. Good evening, everyone. Welcome, horror fans. It is Wednesday, 7 p.m. Central Time. Exactly 7 p.m. Central Time. And that means it's time for another episode of the Week in Horror podcast, the only podcast where the dead are not quiet. And if you, dear horror fanatic, are listening to us at the top of the week, remember we do this live every Wednesday right here on YouTube. Come hang out and see all the stuff that our editor does not want you to see. This week, we are covering select horror films released July 30th through August 5th. Thank you all so much for joining me. I am JL. And yes, just me tonight. I am holding the fort down. Currently, Eugene and Johnny are out on set. Aaron is doing some personal stuff, and so is Alex, because, they got families and stuff. They got things that they got to take care of. So I will be holding the fort tonight, so I appreciate everybody being here. Thank you so much. I will do my best. It's always kind of hit or miss. You never know what's going to happen when it's a solo show. But, I've done it a few times. Like, I'm getting pretty good at it. So appreciate everybody being here. It's amazing. I hope you all are doing well. And this is awesome because, literally just right before we went live tonight, I was literally listening to our government talk about the existence of aliens and alien spacecraft. And it's just, we live in surreal times, truly surreal times. Whereas I can listen to that and then turn around and come on and talk about horror movies. And this is my life. This is just absolutely amazing. But I hope all of you are doing well out there. So good to see everybody in the live chat. We got some cool stuff to talk about tonight, and I will try and time management it well so we can go the whole time. But how are y'all doing out there? Hope everybody is doing fantastic. Speaking of which, let's first and foremost get it up. Let's get it up. There is our Patreon banner. All of those amazing individuals who help to make this show possible. See all those names streaming across there. I do appreciate that. And I see a lot of you in the chat. Fantastic to see you. First and foremost, I see Casey Cooper is here. Good to see you, Casey Cooper. And as well as Travis Brown. Good to see you. Says, evening, y'all Fright Nighters. Absolutely, sir. Got some good movies to talk about tonight. And good to see you as well, Angel Rivera. So awesome to have you in the chat. Operation Free World is here. Good to see you, Operation Free World. Sherry Tilley, good to see you. Casey Cooper was taking bets on when we were going to go live, and we went live right on time. We absolutely did. It always feels good to just hit and just know we can hit running. We don't have to wait. But yes, I will be solo tonight, Casey. Sarcasm, good to see you. Thanks so much for being here. H. Jaspery as well. Good evening to you. Who else we have? Brian Powell is here. Says, oops, let me shut that door. Sorry about that. Not a problem, Brian. Thank you so much, bud. Appreciate you being here. Was Eugene able to fix his AC? Angel Rivera asks. And I think they were. So they didn't call me and we didn't have to do any video conferencing. So I'm pretty sure they got it fixed. Gosh of Heckfire, good to see you, bud. Says, good evening, all you scary people. Thank you so much, Gosh of Heckfire. Appreciate you being here. Travis Brown says, aliens are real. We would not have the X-Files if we do not have aliens. Good point. Seems legit to me. Seems legit. Oh, but yeah, man, amazing people in the chat there. I see a whole bunch of you. It's wild. Yeah, they're currently discussing, I guess, with congressional whistleblowers about the existence of extraterrestrials and extraterrestrial spacecraft and all kinds of stuff. It literally sounds like something Chris Carter would have written, which is really entertaining. I'm just sitting there kind of going, wow, this is the kind of stuff with the same kind of nothing burgers that typically get thrown around in these public congressional hearings. Oh, but yes. Oh, Joshua Lee, good to see you. Thanks so much for popping in tonight. And of course, I have the live chat up so I can make sure that I see everything. But I see H. Jasper E has become a member of the Army of the Dead. Thank you so much, H. Jasper E. Yes, that is news for anybody who was not aware. You can support the channel through channel memberships. We finally got monetized here at Week in Horror, and we are really, really happy about that. So thank you, H. Jasper E, for your support. I do appreciate that. We have the new emojis and all the channel badges coming up. We're currently putting them together to make sure they look good. So we will be putting those together. But yeah, I think we finally arrived here on YouTube. So now it's just a matter of, everywhere else we are on all the podcast sites. But thank you, HS4E, for the support. We do appreciate that. You rock. All right. Please enjoy the one emoji we put up and the channel badge, of course. But yeah, we're really excited about that. It's going just before season 5. I'm super excited. We are all super excited about getting into season 5. Don't know how it's going to happen. The show has evolved so much since we first began. Don't know what's going to happen or where it's going to go, but we've got all kinds of cool stuff coming up. So it's just going to be amazing. So look forward to that. The season finale is going to be September 13th. Will be the season finale of season 4. So all kinds of cool stuff. We have cool stuff coming up. It's going to be a lot of fun. So aliens aside, existence of aliens aside, or the existential crisis of aliens aside, I hope everybody is doing well tonight. And since it's solo, it's just me tonight, we'll just go ahead and go through. So the first big thing that I wanted to bring up, wanted to share with y'all in case you haven't seen it yet. I know Travis is really, really active in Travis, one of our big supporters, is really, really active in the Discord, and he posted up the trailer for it. But I don't know if everybody's seen it, but we've got it here for you tonight. I went ahead and queued it up on the Terror Tube. Hey, Insane Angel, good to see you. Thanks so much for being here. And we are going to check out the trailer for The Exorcist Believer. I have not seen this yet. I've held off. I wanted to watch it here with y'all. I wanted to get a first response, kind of like a reaction to it. Sadly, the other guys from the crew are not here, but we will check it out, and I'm really, really curious about this. So, like I said, I haven't seen it yet, and so this is first for me as well. So here we go. Let's check it out. This is the trailer, the brand new trailer for The Exorcist Believer.
Good day. Hey, be home by dinner.
I love you.
I love the Terror
Good morning,
Tube.
Mr. Fielding.
Morning, Catherine.
And here are your daughters, Angela and Catherine. It's about 7 hours ago, and that's the last information we have.
Catherine!
Angela?
If you can hear this, we love you. Please come home.
Oh, instead of one Regan, we got two Regans.
Hey, you found her? What are you and Catherine doing out there in those woods?
We were just walking and walking. That's all I remember.
Angela, can you tell your dad how long you were gone?
A few hours.
Baby, you've been gone 3 days.
Missing time.
What'd you say?
I didn't say nothing.
Thought I heard you say something.
Hey, baby. You okay?
Wherever those girls went, they brought something back with them.
The body and the blood of Jesus Christ.
Body in the blood? Body in the blood? Catherine. Body in the blood. The body in the blood. The body and the blood. Catherine. The body and the blood. The body and the blood.
Have you ever seen anything like this?
Oh, Ann Dowd is in this. Nice.
But there are people out there who have.
Ellen Burstyn.
You
Nice.
have some experience with possession.
Yes, more than I'd like.
I believe you can help get our girls back.
Exorcism is a ritual. Every culture, every religion, they all use different methods. It's going to take all of them.
Don't be scared,
We've met before.
Mother. Make it stop! It's hurting!
What did you do?
Is that Catherine's heartbeat? They're beating in sync.
God played a trick on you.
Oh, I got the tubular bells going on. Oh, intriguing. So, yeah, not a remake. Travis Brown, you are correct. Not a remake, but obviously a sequel, continuation of the original story. But yeah, wild. Okay, so I have to admit, at first I was really, really concerned. I was 50-50 on an Exorcist sequel because obviously the Exorcist sequels that we've gotten since Exorcist 3 have not been great. But this one looks, from the trailer, this one looks solid. Now, there's always the possibility that what we saw in the trailer could potentially be all of the good stuff in the movie, and the rest of it is just filler. That it could just be boring. We don't know. We don't. It could be as good as Exorcist 3. It could be The Heretic. I don't know how it's going to play out, but from this, I can now say I'm comfortably about 730 in favor for it. I'm really looking forward to it. So I will obviously be checking it out, and I do believe that Exorcist: The Beginning will be on streaming. Of course, it's directed by David Gordon Green, who directed the Halloween trilogy, the new Halloween trilogy, and then of course, which is interesting. And this is really, really interesting because the same with the Halloween trilogy, David Gordon Green and Danny McBride and Scott Teems all got together and they worked on this one as well. So it's interesting that this new kind of powerhouse creation with Jason Blum, with Blumhouse backing them, is kind of doing this with these classic franchises. It's intriguing. They've got a good momentum going on. Although honestly, and I think a lot of people agree with me that they stumbled a bit with Halloween Ends. But I really enjoyed Halloween Kills. I thoroughly enjoyed the first the 2018 Halloween. So I don't know how it's gonna turn out. Like I said, but I'm just by the trailer itself, I'm really excited. I'm very excited about it. I think this is gonna be, where is this gonna release in October, or release October 13th, which is a Friday the 13th, 2023. It is intended to be the first of 3 new Exorcist films. So they're doing with The Exorcist what they did with Halloween. So we've got this one. I guess Ellen Burstyn is going to be like their Jamie Lee Curtis is going to carry this through. But I'm kind of digging this. I'm excited about it. It stars Leslie Odom Jr. and Ann Dowd. Also, Ann Dowd is amazing from The Leftovers, from obviously Handmaid's Tale. It was really awesome because recently on a rewatch of the X-Files, I came across an episode that Ann Dowd was in the X-Files, which is really, really good. Jennifer Nettles, Norbert Leo Butz, Lydia Jewett, Olivia Markham, and Ellen Burstyn coming back to reprise her role. So really, really excited. Unfortunately, of course, Jason Miller and Max von Sydow have passed away. So, but it's going to be interesting to see where they take the story from Exorcist 3 on, because obviously Ellen Burstyn won't be aware of any of the events that took place in Exorcist 3, or if there will be incorporating the elements of Exorcist 2, which will be, will we see stuff from The Heretic making it this, or are they going straight from the first one, all the way from Friedkin's first one, all the way to this one? Are they doing the exact same thing they did with Halloween? So I'm kind of curious. I'm looking forward to it. There's questions that I want answered, and I don't know how it's going to play out. So I'm excited. I am. But the question is, are y'all excited? So definitely let us know down in the comments below or at weekinhorror@gmail.com based upon the trailer that we just watched, that I believe that just literally just dropped for The Exorcist Believer. If you are excited about the new movie coming out, are you excited about it being a trilogy? There's going to be 3 new films. So I'm kind of interested. I'm intrigued. My curiosity is piqued. So let us know what you think. I would love to hear. I would love to hear about that. Remember, those interactions really help with the dreaded algorithm here on YouTube. They help to keep us relevant, and we let everybody and the entire community wants to know what people think about this. See if we can, see what the general buzz is. Let's see. I see some new people popped in. Yes, I do wish Linda Blair would be in it as well. From what I can tell, now you never know, because sometimes studios will, they might sneak her in there. We see a picture of the young Regan. So the question is, could Linda Blair make a pop in? We don't know. So it'd be really, really curious. Really curious to see if that happens. Right now, she's not listed there, as far as I can tell, not listed in the official cast or what in the cast has been released. Because currently, right now, if you look at the cast, a lot of the people, like official names aren't attached to them. So it's possible they could still make adjustments before October, and they're just keeping that secret. So you never know. We see that a lot, obviously, nowadays with Disney and the Marvel films. They will try to keep things as secret as possible and leave things out of trailers, or surreptitiously cut things out of trailers to keep their secrets. So who knows what will happen? Really, really intriguing. Let me see. Liam Wakefield is here. Good to see you, says Hubble Bubble. Good to see you, Liam. Thanks so much for being here. Sally Skellington as well. Always a pleasure to see you. Says, hey, folks. Thanks so much for being here tonight. Sarcasm says, I'll wait for the initial reviews. Intro. Okay. Definitely. Nemo813 says, yep, I'm here now. Good to see you, Nemo. Thanks so much. See, Josh Lee says, I might be singled out for this, but I thought the original movie wasn't that scary. This seems very interesting to me. Very good. And of course, it was the original one came out, if I remember correctly, in 1971, 71. Yes, it was 1971 that was the novel when it came out. The first Exorcist came out in 73, 2 years later. So The Exorcist came out in 73, Heretic came out in 77, and The Exorcist 3 came out in 1990. Exorcist 3 was fucking amazing. That movie was fantastic. Exorcist came out in 73, was also great, but you imagine 1973 seeing the stuff on screen that they were seeing then, and you can understand, whoa, how overwhelming something like that would be. And then, of course, The Beginning, and then prequel to The Exorcist, and then, Dominion, Exorcist, was it Dominion? Yeah, Dominion, prequel to The Exorcist, and then Exorcist The Beginning, not great. Rennie Harlan and Paul Schrader, I think they just kind of mishandled those. It's kind of like, we have this, we need to, I think that was, you've got the rights and you want to hold on to it, so you need to produce something, and that's why, that Exorcist The Beginning came out in 2004, didn't do well. Dominion, prequel to The Exorcist, came out in 2005. That wasn't great. But now we have, in 2023, we have The Exorcist Believer. 2025, we have The Exorcist Deceiver. And then we have the third one, which is as yet untitled. But of course, Jason Blum, Danny McBride, David Gordon Green are all attached to that. And that's their next big trilogy that they're working on. Christo Kiernium, good to see you. Thanks so much for being here. Mr. Andret as well, good to see you. Yeah, 73. 73, Exorcist came out. 77, Exorcist 2, The Heretic came out. William Friedkin and William Peter Blatty really knew how to handle that. They knew how to handle, which is why Exorcist 3 was so amazing. The Exorcist 3 was just freaking phenomenal. It had obviously one of the scariest, jump scares. It wasn't even really a jump scare, although it made you jump. It wasn't like, blah, up in your face, but the nurse moment, still gives me the heebie-jeebies. But yeah, really, really, Liam Wakefield says, I just can't be scared by Catholic fever dreams. I am entertained by the human elements in acting. This is also true. Some people just don't get obviously there are fans out there that are just not, they don't find the possession, theme or the possession trope compelling. There are some people that are really frightened by possession films, that find them really, really terrifying. Me, myself, the scariest monsters are really those that strip you of your identity. That's the scary, which is why The Thing is so terrifying to me. The Thing is very scary because you can be infected with it, and then you don't know that that you're not who you are, because you could be infected, and as it slowly takes you over, it's replicating what all of your cells do. So you don't know that if you were unknowingly infected, it would take over your body, and you'd never be aware of it until all of a sudden you've split open. Which is why so many of the victims, when they split open and they go all thing-like, they have looks of horror and shock on their faces, because they don't recognize, like, what the hell's happening to me, and then, blah, they turn into a monster. So, which is why that's terrifying to me. A monster that just strips you of your identity of who you are. That's freaky to me. Let's see. Joshua Lee says, I'm guessing the exorcism of movies were not related. And there has been so many exorcism of insert name person that kind of became a joke, like the exorcism of Emily Rose, and so on and so forth. And exorcism of Emily Rose was based on actual events, and then that kind of, because the popularity of that, but of course that had a number of that had Laura Linney in it, and had Jennifer Carpenter in it. But, because of the popularity of that film, because that film did well, it kind of kicked off a trope of the exorcism of insert a person. And that just kind of continued on from there. There's been so many, it's kind of watered down. Sarcasm says, I like the unseen horror that turns the people against each other. Hell yes. Paranoia horror is very freaky. The enemy within. Absolutely. Abso-freaking-lutely. So, but we definitely want to hear what you guys think down in the comments about the Exorcist Believer, about what you thought of the trailer, how it looks, what they're kind of proposing. Where do you sit? 50-50, 70-30, for, 70-30 against? Not really sure, but it should be exciting when it comes out. Of course, we will watch it, and we will talk about it once we get the other guys on the crew here. So, really, really excited about that. So, this being a horror film podcast, what do you say we dive into the selections tonight? We got some weird ones. I would say we got 2 weird ones and 2 really good ones. 2 weird ones. I'm also a fan of Lovecraftian horror, obviously. Lovecraftian, I mean, come on. Keep a copy of The King in Yellow right here on my desk. And of course, there's my King in Yellow right there. Always looking over my shoulder. So yeah, we have 2 really, really weird. I would say we have 2 really weird ones. And I say a weird one, a surrealistic one, and 2 really fucking good ones. So, Exceptionally Average, good to see you. Says, I still like horror movies, but once I stop being superstitious, they don't bother me like they used to. Good point. Excellent point there. So, first and foremost, let's dive into the selections tonight. The first film we're going to talk about tonight, or, the first weirdness we're going to talk about tonight, is released July 30th, 1987, and we have The Soultangler. I was kind of excited to see this one. It's currently free on YouTube if you haven't seen it, but let's check out this trailer.
It all started when my father died. And then I began to investigate. And that's when things really got crazy.
Oh, yeah.
My name is Anton Lupesky. I single-handedly invented Amphoria, a drug that can make your soul leave your body and enable you to enter any human corpse, provided it has eyes.
That's pretty much it.
But I really think there's a good story here.
Get out of here. Oh, that was the trailer for The Soultangler. So, The Soultangler, directed by Pat Bischow, written by John Bischow and Lance Laurie, starring Bill Bernard, Jennifer Brown, Tom Ciociari. And essentially, the plot follows a mad scientist named Anton Lupesky, who invents a brand new drug that can free the soul of the user and allow them to possess the bodies of corpses. The horrible side effects, of course, are sometimes fatal hallucinations that leave the survivor, or sometimes destructive or fatal hallucinations, and the ones that survive can be left incurably insane. So, yes. Okay, so this was an intriguing one. Obviously, okay, so first and foremost, the film itself is incredibly cheap. It's a very, very cheap film, shot on a shoestring budget with, I would say, actors that probably need a few more years of seasoning behind them. Some of the deliveries, it was not, but ultimately, the energy is going in the right direction on this program. Now the entire project is a tonally odd experiment. It really, really is. From the beginning to the end, it shifts and changes gears rather sporadically. So it feels kind of, it almost feels like, and I couldn't get confirmation on this, but it almost feels very much like the group that was behind it, that the filmmaking team kind of hit this movie. We're shooting this movie in sections. We're kind of like, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. And as they got new kind of like new inspirations along the way, things kind of changed and adapted. Maybe when you have like periods of time in between your shooting and in between the opportunities you get to shoot, things can change. You can come up with different ideas, or sometimes someone's not quite available, or who knows what goes on. But it felt like that. It felt like there was kind of like, we shot this section, then we shot this section, and then trying to fit them all together. That's why you get these weird kind of tone shifts in between them all, which ultimately, to me, because the film is so earnest in what it's trying to convey, comes off to me, the way it came off to me was kind of like a combination of Herschel. I would say a combination of Herschel Gordon Lewis and Stuart Gordon and David Lynch, but with no money whatsoever. So I saw these moments where the writing was, I could say, was deeply inspired by David. It was very Lynchian in its progression. Very, very hints of Twin Peaks and Mulholland Drive. And maybe some Blue Velvet in there as well. And then you've got like the splatter effects, which was very, very much like Herschel Gordon Lewis. So going for those extreme deals where they like, especially the big butcher knife, when he damn near lops his head off in one swap, and like the head popping around. And of course, like the dismemberment scenes. So definitely a lot of Herschel Gordon Lewis inspiration in there. And I got some Stuart Gordon as well. Some very Lovecraftian vibes, like Reanimator, like if Reanimator was shot in Long Island with no money. And so you could see that those tone shifts seemed to take where each section took deep inspiration from one of the greats that came before it, which I kind of dug. I kind of dug it as an homage, because that's where it tonally kind of felt as like almost like an anthology. Only the entire anthology is where each one is an inspiration, but the entire anthology is following one narrative, which I found really intriguing. It was almost like, and I think it was, what was it? Liam Wiggles' direction depends on which personalities you control that day. That's what it kind of felt like. Like this one director had these ideas, and he's like, I want to come at it from a Gordon Lewis perspective, or I want to come at it from a Stuart Gordon or a Brian Yuzna perspective, or I want to come at it from a David Lynch kind of like, kind of atmosphere. That's what I kept getting as the movie progresses on it. It kind of bounces back and forth and creates this weird kind of, uncertainty, which you don't often find in movies of this low budget and, with acting of this low caliber. The lines are not well. I think that's what actually is a selling point. The lines are not well delivered. The gore is pretty extreme, but is also pretty cheap. The effects just, don't quite hit, but they go for the gusto. So if you didn't have a lot of money and you really had a compelling story you wanted to shoot, go out there and just do it. And this is why I dug what I found Soultangler kind of endearing, was because you could tell everybody who worked on this likely knew, you could just feel it from, likely knew that this movie was not going to do great, but everybody had fun shooting this thing. Despite the fact that they didn't have choreography, that some of the effects seemed, put together like really, really fast or kind of last minute. Like, we need to pull this off, so let's just make this happen as quickly as we can. But some things were well planned, like when the cadaver comes up, like that, like with that half the head gone, he's like blah blah, like that. But then reacting to it, which is just like, oh, I'll push you down. So there's stuff like that, which kind of like, why would you do that? But then again, the setup is really, really decent. So I dug that kind of, the tonally odd environment where it just kind of like you jump from place to place, because it keeps the audience off kilter. It keeps you off balance, but not in a bad way. And not with like those breaks in tension like you get with an anthology when you get like the next title card and then you move on to the actual next story. I kind of dug this one because it's kind of like, it was a roller coaster of weirdness. It's like, what are we going to get next? Because you really don't expect what to get next. And I would even say even a little bit of Kubrick in there with some of the color choices, some of the lighting choices, when they, with that whole thing bathed in red, I definitely got, Kubrick vibes off of that. So I can see that the people behind this had really huge intentions, had really big intentions, but unfortunately, money, it sucks when money stands in the way, and you wish you could pull off what you could pull off, but, you just can't get there, and I love the, and it was great. The planning on it was fantastic because they had the excellent production value. That's what always sucks. You have excellent production value. They were actually shooting at an old asylum that was in Long Island, and Long Island has a lot of like, you know, decrepit areas like that. But they knew where they were going to shoot, so really, really solid planning. A lot of some other areas, but I think they ran into some hiccups along the way. Just really, really good stuff. I found it really, really inspiring. Sarcasm said, I firmly believe that it could have been saved in post. Better editing and continuity would have made this a cult classic. Absolutely. Absolutely. Unlike a movie like, I would say, Winter Beast, okay, which I would actually classify as kind of like the same quality. This one had a more coherent and cohesive narrative that ran throughout and almost pushed the boundaries, I would say, like pushing into like Frank Henenlotter territory, or there was another director in the kind of like the same ilk. And he's Aaron's a big fan of him, but I would say kind of pushing in that territory. The only thing that was limitation was, I think it was probably money and time, which really, really sucks. The whole bulk of the film was shot over the course of a week in 1985, but additional pickup shots weren't done until September of 86. So it took like over a year to shoot the thing. So they shot the bulk of it and then did all the pickup shoots like a year later. That's that time period, that kind of like break where you probably resulted in those tonal shifts, which may have been unintentional, but ultimately kind of worked for the film, which I thought was kind of neat. And also they used what I found was really cool, because earlier on Week in Horror, I think it was in season 3. I had to look it up. We talked about a movie called Censor. And Censor was about this woman who freaks out, has a mental breakdown, and she works as a censor in the UK as part of their production censorship office. And so she's like watching all this gory, horrible stuff and all this this like nasty content that she's got to censor every single day. She winds up having a nervous breakdown and tracking down this director. Well, throughout that movie, there were clips that played throughout that film, and those clips were taken from this one. From this one, I think that was in season 3. We talked about Censor, but yeah, Censor utilized clips from the Soultangler, which I was kind of like, oh shit, I remember seeing those in Censor, which is really, really neat. So this was kind of a fun one. It was entertaining to say the least. Nobody really takes it all that seriously, which is important, because if it gets too maudlin, then you're kind of like, oh shit, they were like really trying to sell this. They don't at any point, which was a smart decision. They knew what they were making. They didn't try to sell it as anything more than that. And that's what I think. And I have to agree. If it wasn't for the editing, which they may have been rushed on, which I also kind of get that feeling, this really would have been a cult classic. I think that this could be remade into something really intriguing, because there's enough elements that nobody would say, I don't think anybody would really say it's a Reanimator rip. There's enough things that they change where the only real connection is like mad scientist and dead bodies, and kind of like the dead bodies thing. So I would say this could be remade with a decent budget. If Pat Bichau wanted to do that, if he got the opportunity to do that. I think that there is a real opportunity here. They just need the resources in order to make that happen, which I think was really cool. But yeah, if you really, really dig gore, if you really, really dig the kind of mad scientist vibe, if you could, the same kind of like Terrifier vibe, where you could tell this is really, really cheap. I mean, the last sequence in Terrifier, the fucking the morgue that Art the Clown was in was somebody's garage, and it was really obviously someone's garage. Same kind of thing here. It's like, wow, this really? And they do they try to do up the little sets as well as they can, but there's only so much that you can do. Oh, Adam Strange, good to see you. Thanks so much for being here tonight. Do appreciate it. And St. Angel says Mulholland Drive messed with my head. I think it messed with all of our heads. Perspective fundamentally altered. Absolutely. Travis Brown says, sometimes the low-budget films are always fun to watch. This one was just enjoyable. Soultangler, just kind of like, I got a kick out of it. I hadn't got the opportunity to see one like this, of kind of like this low caliber. It's kind of like Z grade, but it was entertaining nonetheless. And I love it only predominantly because the director, nobody is taking themselves seriously on this one. It's like, we're having fun. We're shooting a gory, goopy movie. Let's go ahead and shoot a gory, goopy movie and have the fun with it. And that's the whole point. Absolutely. Oh, let me see. Liam Winkle says, yeah, digital color grading didn't exist then, so having different film stock could have created a quality change, and getting all the same people back for pickups may have been difficult. Agreed. Those time constraints, when you have a significant amount of time that goes by, scheduling is always a bitch. And I mean, it happens, it's one of the minefields that you kind of have to navigate when you are shooting, because once you get in the editing suite, Sometimes you come more often than not, you come across shit that you did not see before. So you've got to do pickup shots, you've got to do reshoots, and trying to get everyone back, is a pain in the ass. To ensure that you can do it correctly takes money. And if you simply don't have that money, you either got to go on people's good graces or you got to go by people's schedules. And sometimes it does not work out, or it doesn't work out the way you hoped it would. Sarcasm says, give the script to Troma. They'd kill it in the good way. They absolutely would. Lloyd Kaufman would have a fucking field day with this one. He would. Peter Noddle, good to see you. Says, good day, mate. How the bloody hell are you? I am doing good. Thank you so much for being here tonight, Peter. We do appreciate it. So, but given this, one thing I dug is I don't get to see enough of them, and that is mad scientist horror films. There are many out there, but we talk about so many horror films, we don't really get to see a lot of them. And this one, Anton was a perfectly the perfect mad scientist, just absolute fucking blithering crazy person. But because I love mad scientist films, I really do. Just twisting science. Obviously Reanimator is one of my faves because it's a Lovecraftian horror film based off Herbert West, Reanimator. So, but I'm curious. I was curious. I wanted to ask all of you out there, what in your opinion is the best mad scientist film? There are lots of them out there, but we don't get them all that often because the mad scientist trope is, I think the industry may feel it's kind of overdone. It's kind of a trope of decades ago. And obviously turn of the century to decades ago. People really just don't do the mad scientist anymore unless it's kind of low budget, So let us know. What do you think is the best mad scientist film or film with a mad scientist in it? Let us know down in the comments below, of course, at weekinhorror@gmail.com here in the live chat. Who do we have? Let me see. Frank, Adam Strange says Frankenhooker. Fuck yes, Frank Henenlotter. I fucking love Frankenhooker. Travis Brown says Herbert West is the best mad scientist. Reanimator, 100%. Absolutely. Sarcasm says, would Event Horizon count? And I would say it would, because I think Dr. Weir was a mad scientist. I think he would, because everybody in here chastised that. You think you could just do this, break the laws of physics and there be no consequences. I would say that Dr. Weir was a mad scientist. I would agree with that. Peter Noddle says Rocky Horror. Yes, Dr. Frankenfurter was a mad scientist. He absolutely was. Liam Wakefield says The Man with Two Brains. Ah, yes, The Man with Two Brains. Or you could go, Bruce Campbell, go The Man with the Screaming Brain, which is a very, very entertaining Bruce Campbell flick. Let me see. But yeah. Insane Angel, be right back. Yeah, okay, we'll see you in a sec. Nemo 813 says The Abominable Dr. Phoebes. Awesome. Yes. So many good ones out there. But definitely let us know down in the comments below what you think is the best mad scientist film. You can go all the way back to like fucking 1931. Frankenstein. Victor Frankenstein. We see Frankenstein's Army. Oh, yes. Josh Lee says Frankenstein's Army. Yes. Victor from Frankenstein's Army was definitely a mad scientist. Diesel punk, monsters, fucking, diesel punk bionic monsters. Hell fucking yeah. Adam Strange says, Young Frankenstein, or Frankenstein. Yeah, absolutely. Mel Brooks, fucking amazing. Oh, buddy. Let's jump on to our next one. Let me go ahead and clear that from the studio. All right, and I've been looking forward to this one. I know that y'all love it. Y'all are big fans. But it released August 2nd, 1985, and we have the original Fright Night. Let's check out this trailer.
What would you do if you accidentally discovered the house next door was occupied by something not human? Something horrifying. Something unspeakably evil. No one believes you.
Mom, I didn't have a nightmare.
Not your mom.
They did kill a girl over there.
Not your girlfriend.
Charlie, is this some sort of a trick to get me back?
Yes.
Not even the police.
Look, I know it's crazy. I know that, but
he was in Die Hard too.
It knows that you know. You'll do anything to protect yourself. But it will do anything to protect its secret.
You can't do it like Jason.
Fright Night. If you love being scared,
What do you mean?
this could be the night of your life. Fright Night. Coming to your neighborhood this summer.
Yes. Welcome to Fright Night. For real. God, I love you. Christopher Sarandon. You're fucking amazing. Yes, that was the trailer for Fright Night. Directed by the legendary Tom Holland and written also by Tom Holland. Interesting story there. Starring Chris Sarandon as Jerry Dandridge, William Ragsdale, who I recently saw on, just started watching Justified. We saw William Ragsdale on there. Amanda Bierce of Married with Children fame, Stephen Jeffries of 976 Evil fame, and the legendary Roddy McDowell. So many cool fucking things about this movie. For those who have not had the pleasure of seeing that. That's a Hummer-friendly smile. That's fucking funny. Adam Strange. No, it's not. No, it's not at all. That is not a Hummer-friendly smile. Get away from me. Oh, man. But yes, the original Fright Night. If anybody who has not seen this and not had the pleasure, which, I don't know where you've been, but I know that some people probably haven't seen this. The film follows Charlie Brewster. Charlie is, a regular high school teenager, has a girlfriend, friends, whatever, and discovers that there is a vampire has moved in next door to him into the long abandoned house. So this vampire has moved in and is killing people around the neighborhood, and he discovers it. The vampire figures out that he knows a secret, and he aims to destroy the vampire and save his town, and he enlists the help of his girlfriend, his best friend, and of course, the local celebrity who happens to be kind of like a late night TV, the Fright Night host, the host of Fright Night, played by Roddy McDowell, to come and help him slay the vampire. So, really, really entertaining film. Well, arguably up there, I think, in one of the best vampire films ever made. There's so many fantastic things. It's difficult to really start, to really talk about like where to start on this. First and foremost, this is a Tom Holland film. Tom Holland, for those who are not familiar with his filmography, he co-wrote the first entry in the Child's Play franchise. He penned Psycho 2 in Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho franchise. Wrote the direct adaptations of The Langoliers and Thinner, and I think he co-wrote How to Scare a Monster. So Tom Holland is a magnificent director and writer who has just contributed to some of the best things out there. I think when we're looking at it, class of 1984, Cloak and Dagger, Child's Play, The Temp, Fright Night, the 2011 Fright Night, he was involved in that one, and then of course Thinner as well, which is a Stephen King adaptation. So the legendary Tom Holland put this together. Now the story goes that while he was doing Cloak and Dagger, that he sat on this one, that he kind of like conjured up this idea. And this happened, I cannot tell you as a writer how often this happens. You'd be working on one project, and then all of a sudden another one will pop into your fucking head, and then you kind of like backburner that, or maybe that one kind of like, because you can't have it take over. So you kind of sit back through there and you wait on that. And the idea was the idea of a horror movie fan living next door to a vampire. And then it kind of percolated back there. And eventually, off of the success of Cloak and Dagger, he was able to get a green light for his vampire picture. And so it developed from there. And the original idea, now this is what's really, really intriguing, is that originally the character of Peter Vincent, obviously an homage to Vincent Price and other legendary actors, Peter Cushing, Peter Cushing, Vincent Price. So Peter Vincent character was originally written for Vincent Price. And I honestly wish that we had gotten that there had been Vincent Price in that role. Now, apparently, the legend has it that originally Tom Holland had approached Vincent Price to be in the picture. He's like, I wanted you to play this role. And Price turned him down flatly. And it wasn't a mean thing. It was like just Price had, at that point in his career, had been typecast so much in horror films that he just wasn't interested in taking on another horror movie. He was trying to expand out and do other things. Unfortunately, that really wouldn't be the case because he's fucking Vincent Price. And Thriller didn't do him. If that was his goal, Thriller really didn't do him a solid. So nonetheless, Vincent Price turned him down, and Roddy Piper was recommended for it. And so he sent the script to Roddy Piper to Roddy McDowell. Sorry, Roddy Piper. Fucking hell. So he sent the picture to Roddy McDowall, and Roddy McDowall was like, oh, a vampire movie? I don't know if I want to do this, but then read it and then fell in love with the character of Peter Vincent as kind of like the has-been actor, the has-been like horror actor who turned into late night TV host, very Svengoolie, very, Seymour, very, that kind of style, very Vampira, and discovers, gets pulled into this supernatural story where there is this vampire that has to take down. So he fell in love with that and he ran with it. And the same goes for Chris Sarandon, because Chris Sarandon, I don't care what anybody says. That is one sexy looking man, back in the he's still a handsome looking man, but god dang, that dude was a leading guy. And so he picked up the script. It was kind of like, oh, vampire movie. I don't know if I want to do a horror film. I'm not, but then he read it and just kind of like dug the humanity that was played. It wasn't just like a vampire movie with all the gore and all the effects. Like, he loved the human aspect, which Holland was really that's kind of the thing that really sells this, was not the fact that it's a vampire flick, but that it centers around very, very human concepts. And there's a little bits and pieces, little like threads that are all over the place. Like the idea that Amy looks exactly like the vampire, or looks exactly like the woman in the painting, only the hair is different. Then after Amy gets bitten, her short dark hair becomes long and red hair, just like it was in the painting. So there's little bits and pieces there. And I really dug the idea. Chris Sarandon, the reason Jerry, because I always kind of wondered this, the reason Jerry Dandridge is constantly eating fruit, because you see him like multiple times, he eats apples and other stuff and he has like that big ass bowl of fruit in his house, is because he modeled it very similar to a fruit bat. And that it's like this big ass giant like flying fox. And that's what he kind of modeled Jerry Dandridge after, which is why he's like attracted to fruit all the time and he's eating it all the time, which I thought was a nice little character trope that he added in. Not necessarily, but in accordance with the legend, but I dug that he brought that spin to it because that was a creation of his own. And then everybody coming in, William Ragsdale, of course, brought in the part, and Vince, and then of course at the last second, Amanda Beers coming in to play Amy, who was the only girl next door that apparently Tom Holland could find. It's like she came in, towards the end, it was like, holy shit, we got her. Really a fantastic stuff. The amazing thing about this was obviously the chemistry. The production values are amazing. The interiors of Jerry's house, everything that they put together just really runs. And even Stephen Jeffries, who I think at this point in his career did the best. I mean, he's a solid actor nonetheless. And I think that there was, because whenever I watch it, I always think that the character of Evil Ed could have been played. Oh, sorry. Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, said, how can you possibly call this good? You're slow. Wait, hang on a sec. Hang on a moment. How can I possibly call Fright Night good? Fright Night is amazing. I'm not slipping sarcasm at all. Fright Night is the bomb. Top 5 vampire flicks of all time. I love this one. Now, I absolutely did. Unfortunately, Fright Night 2, not great. Fright Night 2 could not, lightning in a bottle. Fright Night 2 could not just capture what the original Fright Night did. And then, of course, the remakes, not great at all. Although, I was kind of a fan of Colin Farrell's take on Jerry Dandridge, the kind of adjustments he made, where he was more serial killer-like instead of debonair man of mystery. I dug that spin on it. But and of course, I'm a huge Jamie Murray fan. I love Jamie Murray. All aspects of Jamie Murray in the sequel, because there's a sequel to that one as well. But unfortunately, that one was just kind of like meandering as well. So the 3 that came after this, the 3 other films in the franchise, I'm not huge fans of. I mean, I'll watch them, if I have the time and given the opportunity, just because there's entertaining moments in them. But Fright Night, I think, legitimately hit the nail on the head and brought enough interest. That's the beautiful thing about Tom Holland. And what was said about the script is that everything was so incredibly well planned out and everything was so meticulously constructed that it allowed time for the actors to really explore their characters. And also Tom Holland being a theatrically trained actor and familiar with the stage, they ran rehearsals on stage. So they would go to a local theater house and actually run the entire film on the stage. And so he came at it like he was a stage director and choreograph it and movie, and the actors were by the time they got on set, everybody was so comfortable in their roles that it just ran. So they were able to knock it out in like 1 or 2 takes every single time because they were prepped. And it was that level of brilliant planning that allowed the actors to explore their characters and make these phenomenal choices. And when they finally get in front of a camera, they're confident and they've got it and they nail it, which is why everybody is just on point. Every little nuance segment. One of the best, and this is what's great, one of the best interactions in the entire film, and I think as far as like character nuance, was the interactions between William Ragsdale and Jonathan Stark, who played Billy Cole, who was Jerry's manservant. So he's kind of like his helper, his like, like the big buff helper. There are little moments between those two that are so fucking smart that they're not things that you would write into a script. Those are actor choices, and they are really fucking good. And they're funny as hell because of the they're funny because of the subtext. This is a very serious situation. You are in the lair of a vampire. But the way Jonathan Starks reacts to William Ragsdale's energy, the way their energies play off of one another, is just fucking hilarious. There are some fantastic moments there. Not to mention Chris Sarandon, legendary. The way he plays off of everybody, the way he approaches each individual character, intriguingly. I mean, and Holland didn't shy away from it. There is the subtle homosexual kind of inference between Jerry Dandridge and Billy Cole. That's there for a reason, but that's the way he approaches Billy. Then there's the different way that he approaches evil, and the different way he approaches Amy, and of course the way he approaches typical people, the other people who are not familiar with what's going on, and the way he approaches Charlie as well. So I really, really dig every piece that went into this, and this is an example of what in my opinion, of what a horror masterclass looks like. How to approach a project, how to plan a project, how the director interacts with their cast and with their crew, and how they get everybody on the same page so that we're all familiar with this. I love the idea of getting everybody on a stage and rehearsing the film that way. It's just absolutely brilliant, because if you combine, because obviously, and if your actors are themselves stage trained, which all of them are, all of them spent plenty of time on stage, they get them into an atmosphere of familiarity, and then they can take that once they get on the set, it just flows, which I think was the most brilliant decision Tom Holland could have made in this. That's why I absolutely dug this, not to mention the ambiguous ending. I love that moment. But what I was saying about Stephen Jeffries is fantastic, has absolutely amazing energy for an actor. I love what he brings to all of his roles, his almost manic severity in everything that he brings. And he was hilarious with Andrew McCarthy and Mary Stuart Masterson in Heaven Help Us. And then, of course, At Close Range and 976 Evil. 976 Evil, that was under Robert Englund's direction. He really kind of flourished, which I really, really dug. I think also 976 Evil too, if I remember correctly. But in this one, I think, because this was so early, because he'd done Heaven Help Us, and they did Fraternity Vacation, then he did Fright Night, and this was his first one. This was his first horror film. And then he did some work on The Twilight Zone, and then he really kind of got into it. 976 Evil, you can see how far he's come as an actor, which, if you look at what he brought to 976 Evil, and then you look at what he brought in Fright Night, you can see how he's kind of honed himself, because 976 Evil was 1988. It was 3 years, and he worked a bunch in that time. I mean, he did shit on Twilight Zone, Amazing Stories, but you can see how much he grew as an actor, and I think he needed that kind of. But then again, it might have been that rawness that Holland identified with and wanted that for the character, the kind of raw energy, and very, very up and down, because it plays well against William Ragsdale's kind of straight hero type. So, and given the strong, independent girlfriend, who will drop Charlie in a heartbeat, the three of them play kind of interesting as far as the energy goes. So but I always find it kind of like, I wish he'd kind of made slightly different choices. But then again, there's some brilliant choices he makes, like when he's masquerading as the mom, when he attacks Peter Vincent the first time. and that moment when Jerry Dandridge turns him. I thought he was, there's some brilliant little moments in there that showcase just how fucking smart of an actor he is and how good his instincts are. So I thoroughly enjoyed every single aspect of Fright Night. I think it is a wonderful story behind it, that when you have a good idea, even if you come up with it on the fly, get it on paper, work it, find a way to make it work, because that's where Tom Holland's kind of like, this story won't work. Horror fan thinks vampire lives next door. You can't build him. And then slowly but surely over time, he was able to put together the little pieces that fledged it into something really, 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 really interesting. And that's why I dug this one. That's why I mean, Fright Night's one of my all-time favorites. Absolutely. Now, definitely Tom Holland, and go back and look at Tom Holland's other work. Tom Holland's, his entire filmography, because he can direct in any genre. And look at those little choices that he makes. Look at how his actors interact with one another because of their preparation and the amount of planning Tom has put through. That's what really, really makes a really solid director. And I think Tom Holland's approach is just masterclass. So my curiosity in this, though, because we mentioned all of them. We mentioned Fright Night 2, the one with the rock singer who comes in, the girl rock singer, and with the giant fucking fangs and shit. And then we have the reboot, which had Colin Farrell, and then the sequel to the reboot, which of course had Jamie Murray in it. So I'm really, really curious. What, in y'all's opinion, is the best Fright Night entry? Because I do know, I've heard from some people that really dug that. While they enjoyed the first Fright Night, they really dug the Colin Farrell one, because they had Colin Farrell and Toni Collette and Anton Yelchin, and fantastic cast. So let me know down in the comments below, or of course at weekinhorror@gmail.com. What do you think is the best entry in the Fright Night franchise? Oh, hit my mic there. Let me see here real quick. Sir Cam says, I understand the nostalgic appeal and associated projects from those involved, but Fright Night was not a good movie. For you, sir. For you. But I thoroughly loved it. I think you'd be hard pressed to find somebody to agree. Obviously, if you didn't enjoy the film, you didn't enjoy the film. That's fine. I thoroughly fucking loved it. And I recently got to show it to Angela. Like, Angela had never seen it before. We got sent it, and she fucking fell in love with that movie. She fell in love with Chris Sarandon is what it is, because she already loved Chris Sarandon as Humperdinck from Princess Bride, but then she saw him in this and she was like, oh, Chris Sarandon, making that sweater look good, because he does. Instant Angel says, how about American Werewolf in London? American Werewolf in London is phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. And of course you look at everybody involved in that one as well. So Joshua Lee says, seems to me like this is a cult classic type movie. Some love it and some hate it. Agreed. Absolutely. Joshua Lee, this reminds me of the first Venom movie. Plot was meh, but Tom Hardy in Miami would really make the character amazing. Absolutely. I can agree with that as well. And Travis Brown says, Thinner is the weakest of Tom Holland's films. I would also agree with that. Of course, you look at the source material, Thinner was not one of Stephen King's greatest short stories either. And it just really wasn't. So Angel Rivera says, the OG Fright Night. Fucking hell. Adam Strange says, the movie was balanced and the scenes flowed. They absolutely did. Wrote an last name. Good to see you. Gabba Gabba to you says OG. Case Cooper says the first one. Travis Brown says the OG Fright Night because the physical effects are the best, and I like the cast more with Rodney McDowall. Fucking A. Rodney McDowall was amazing in this. I love how much he took to that role. And all the little things that he brought to it, from studying people like Seymour, like the old school horror hosts. And he took that energy from them, which I really dug. Oh, and what's interesting is that after the movie came out, they were at the premiere, and Vincent Price was invited to the premiere. And Vincent Price was there, and Roddy McDowall got to meet Vincent Price at the premiere, and he was like, So you imagine this scenario. They're at the premiere of Fright Night. Vincent Price is in the audience. Roddy McDowall gets to meet him. Vincent Price goes right up to him and says he absolutely loved it. He loved everything that he did with it. It was an absolutely amazing film. You did phenomenally. And for Roddy McDowall to be like, Vincent Price signed off on it. That, I imagine that was an absolutely amazing moment for both of them, because for Vincent Price to be like, I turned the movie down, but you fucking knocked it out of the park. Absolutely amazing. Adam Strange says Fright 1. 2 was good. The reboots sucked rocks. Agreed. The reboots just really didn't hit. And saying, I did find the Gypsies Dinner to be more lovable than disturbing. Die clean, white man from town. Fucking love that. Love what Roddy brings. Absolutely. Roddy McDowall is just legend. Wrote it in the last name. Says, are you saying the plot of Thinner was a bit thin? It absolutely was. It was so thin on plot. Although I will say, I dug the effects. Turning a giant obese man into, as far as the movie goes, giant obese man into like ultra skinny man from like over 300 pounds, over like 400 pounds to fucking like, 123. The makeup effects in that film were pretty on point. I will say that. And I could not imagine that movie. If you try to imagine that fucking movie, what was it? The actor who was in that, because I've seen him in so many things, but it was fucking Robert John Burke. If you think about Robert John Burke, having to eat what he ate throughout that entire film is just gross. Take after take after take, and it's fine. That combined with 4 to 6 hours in makeup every day, just fucking brutal. I imagine that was a brutal shoot. But it's made I would say the one entertaining thing about Thinner was fucking Joe Mantegna. I love Joe Mantegna. I love the energy he brings to shit. I love him in Criminal Minds. He's phenomenal. And I love kind of like classic Joe Mantegna in Criminal Minds Evolution, when he kind of because now it's on streaming service. Now they can kind of they can unleash. But I love Joe Mantegna as Richie the Hammer. He was fucking great in that movie. I fucking love it. It's like, yes, you do. Yes, you do, Richie. Fantastic shit. Turning the whale into the mechanic. Absolutely. I would agree with that. Then how did Robert John Burke fit into the RoboCop suit? That was in between. Sir Cab says, I love Roddy McDowall, and he played the part perfectly. It was the warm milk and cookies of horror movies. It was the warm milk and cookies of horror movies that turned me off. Let me see. Oh, yeah. But yeah, absolutely love it. Fright Night, fucking classic. Absolute classic, and a movie that I could watch over and over again. It will definitely, I would say, top five vampire films ever made. Up there with like fucking, Nosferatu. The original, like fucking Bela Lugosi Dracula, like the Universal classic. Oh man, fucking awesome. Amazing vampire films. Vampire films that got me top 5. Actually, we're gonna have to wait and see. We're gonna have to wait and see Last Voyage of the Demeter. We're gonna have to wait and find out, because that may take a spot. As far as it looks fucking amazing. We're gonna have to wait and see. We're gonna have to wait and find out. Out for Blood 832 is here. Says, what's up? Good to see you, Out for Blood. Thanks so much for being here tonight. We do appreciate you popping in. All right, let's move on to our next one. Released August 5th, 1960. We have the original, because this movie was also remade, 13 Ghosts. Let's check out this trailer.
Listen to William Castle, whom the
William
Saturday
Castle.
Evening Post calls the master of movie horror.
Do you believe in ghosts? I do.
No.
And you will too. When you come to this theater and see my picture, 13 Ghosts. No more dictation today. When you see 13 Ghosts, you'll be given a supernatural viewer like this, which will enable you to penetrate for the first time into the spirit world. It will let you see all 13 of our weird, wonderful, and wildly assorted ghosts.
Now, brace yourself as we take you across the threshold of our haunted mansion, where there's a ghost for everyone in the family. Father, mother, sister, brother. You'll be scared stiff too when you see what they see. 13 ghosts materializing in ectoplasmic color through the magic of Illusiono. The Ghost Viewer.
I fucking love these names they give them.
The ghost of a lion in the basement. The ghost of a murderous cook in the kitchen.
Stop it! Stop it,
The ghost who speaks through the lips of the living.
Death tonight. To one of you.
The evil ghost in the bedroom, fighting to take possession of this beautiful girl.
Not bad for the time.
The thrills and chills of seeing one ghost multiplied by the magic number 13.
Yes, that was the trailer for the original 13 Ghosts, released back in 1960. Man, oh man, oh man, it was a while ago. But yes, 13 Ghosts, directed by the legendary William Castle, and written by Rob White, and starring Charles Herbert, Joe Morrow, Rosemary DeCamp, Margaret Hamilton, and Donald Woods. So the story, and many of you may be familiar with the remake that came out with Tony Shalhoub and Matthew Lillard. But the story follows a family that is bequeathed a house from Dr. Plato Zorba to bequeaths it to his nephew Cyrus and his family, and so they move in and they discover that there are ghosts living in the house. There are like ghosts living in the house, and there's also a treasure in the house. And so eventually the ghosts come along and shit kind of like unravels. And I don't want to spoil, for those who haven't had the opportunity to see it, it is free on YouTube. You can see it there. I don't want to spoil what kind of happens in the end, but if you are familiar with the remake at all, it follows very much along the same line, like the different ghosts that are projected there. And of course, unlike the one in the remake, in this one, like the ghosts are like the wailing lady and this pair of like clutching hands, and of course a hanging lady, the executioner, has like carrying the severed head, the lion with the headless tamer, which I thought the lion was kind of cool, bringing an actual like lion in there to do that. A floating head, and of course the ghost of Zorba himself are in the house. And it's so intriguing. It's one thing I dig about William Castle. William Castle as a director, like his filmography runs from like the late 30s all the way to the mid 40s. So that cat, and one thing that marks his career is the way that he really, really tried to innovate in everything that he did. So he tried to bring something new to the table every time he hit the ground running. Another example of this in his filmography would be The Tingler, which involved people getting actual not really like electric shocks, but just kind of like where their seats would kind of like zzz, like that. And because the Tingler could be in the audience, could be in like the theater and like zap people. So he constantly was trying to innovate and do interesting things. Now, the problem with this particular one, with this whole the ISO scope thing, or what was it? I want to make sure I get the name right. In Illusiono, the special glasses. So in the Illusiono process, essentially the filmed elements of the actors and the sets, everything in the film except for the ghosts themselves were shot with a blue filter applied to the footage. And so the ghost elements, but the ghosts themselves all had a red filter and then were superimposed over the frame, which is why you get that interesting effect where the depth seems kind of off. And so because you 2D layers kind of laying on top of one another. And so audiences received viewing glasses with red and blue cellophane filters, but these were not like early 3D glasses where having one red eye and the other like blue. And then the Illusiono device required you to look through a single color with both eyes. So when you were watching the film, you had to look with both eyes through this frame. And then when the ghosts were around, you had to look through this one in order to see them. So you had to switch. So looking through the red filter intensified the images of the ghosts, while the blue filter removed them. And the general effect of this was that it was more obnoxious than really anything, because trying to, like, when you're just looking like standard 3D where the glasses do the work for you, unfortunately, you're having to do the work, and the constant shift of your head became distracting. And so the film itself didn't do fantastically, but I think is one of the more innovative. I think I really attempt. In all honesty, I honestly think that 13 Ghosts, that the original one, was an exercise ahead of its time. It was really, really trying to do something new and bring something new to the audience, because William Castle wanted these things to be as immersive as possible, to break that fourth wall, so people could feel like they were really invested in it. And while a lot of his elements didn't work great, didn't work out well, even the Tingler didn't play out very well. They were still really, really solid attempts and good ideas. That's what I dig about what Tom Holland brought to the industry, because that idea of constantly trying to find new ways and trying to re-innovate so that the audience can feel more a part of the picture than they normally would, I thought was absolutely brilliant. I just thought was brilliant. Unfortunately, it was, at the time period in between the the late 30s and the mid 70s. In that time period of it, technology just wasn't really there, but he kept trying to find new ways on it. And okay, so the ghosts in and of themselves are very, very intriguing. I thought some were done very, very well. I thought that the zombified, wow, that was done extraordinarily well for 1960 at a time. Obviously this was, I think, this one came out a few months after Psycho, or was it the same month as Psycho? Oh, for the life of me, I can't recall. When because I know Psycho came out in 1960, but I can't remember if that was August or that was before August. September. Came out a month before. So you get an idea of how far they were willing to go, how far he was trying to go with this, and really trying to push the practical effects on this. And I thought he did well. Some of them worked well. I thought that the lion was fantastic. The lion tamer looked pretty good. Some of the stuff was kind of goofy, comes off silly nowadays, but I can imagine back in the 1960s it was actually kind of freaky. Some of the things that you see. But nowadays, I see, because we were kind of laughing during the trailer, because some of it's kind of like, and then, of course, her yelling at the ghost when he's pouring the milk. Really entertaining stuff. What I saw, unfortunately, was that what I dug about 13 Ghosts was obvious. It was in this one was the character that it was a character driven story. The characters of Cyrus, the members of his family, everybody that was a part of it. The fact that they factored in like the Ouija board and everything, and they had all these kind of things at the time were very, very taboo. They were playing in these areas of narrative that people just kind of like tried to avoid. Things that make great film, like with Alfred Hitchcock in Psycho, going to the places that he wanted to go. And I dug this one just because of the characters themselves. The acting in itself is more than enough to save the picture. And I think that the characters play their roles extraordinarily well. They react well when they have the glasses on. I thought everybody was very, very competent. The difference between this one and the remake, in my personal opinion, was that those story elements feel very, and some of you may disagree with me. I always felt like the family elements in the remake were forced. The whole like the forced drama of the loss of his wife became, discovering his wife is one of the ghosts, and how the uncle has betrayed them, and then of course, but the family elements always seem kind of like just like make it work when it really didn't. And so the saving grace in that, of course, F. Murray Abraham was fantastic in that, and of course Matthew Lillard was great in it as well. Emmett Davis was as well. But ultimately, I was kind of like, I couldn't get behind the family. And the family is the driving force of a film like this, because it's how they come together to deal with that, which may remind you, just by saying that, how the family comes together to deal with the supernatural, very much like Poltergeist, which is driven by the family. It's driven by the mom, the loving mother and father, and the brother and the brother and the sisters. And of course, they have that here. William Castle knew how to cast his picture. He cast it very, very well, and I like the way that this ran. Unfortunately, I think I think the remake kind of dropped that ball in favor of all of the practical effects, and some of the CGI. But I thought the practical effects were pretty damn impressive in the remake. But I think that's where the money went, and unfortunately, not enough went into developing the characters so we could get that real family bond, so we can feel when Tony Shalhoub is doing his big, I'm going to jump into the device to save my family, and the stakes didn't feel high. I felt consistently reminded these are actors. Matthew Lillard, however, was a saving grace in that. I really enjoyed. Obviously, I love everything that he's in. Let's see here. Joshua Lee says the remake was good. I especially love the lore behind each ghost. They went really far because their focus was the ghost. Whereas in 13 Ghosts, in the original Castle one, the focus was more the family. Once you get into the picture, the focus is the family itself and how they deal with the situation. The ghosts are secondary to all of that. That's the difference, but that's the big difference between the two. I'm not overacting. Absolutely not. Modern one is pretty good. Absolutely, it was decent. Absolutely. Let me see. Operation Free World says, watch this movie sounds like a full-time job. Watching all the movies I watch is a full-time job, damn near a full-time job. This and my personal YouTube channel, but it does. I can't tell you how many times when doing these, I'm going back and going back and going back. So, it's a living, or I'm trying to make it a living. And also because I want to get the rest of the crew paid. That's eventually, hopefully, the deal. We start driving the income that we can eventually start doing this. But of course, yeah, that's why the guys are on set right now. Let's see. Sir Kevin says, I really enjoyed Lillard and Abraham, and the steampunk glass house, the remake, Shalhoub was just okay. Agreed. For someone so talented, especially in like, that can do, for an actor who can do so much with so little, it just didn't hit, I think it was a paycheck. Operation Free World says, once fully immersive VR horror films being the main, today's films will look silly, huh? Probably. Let me see. Oh, NA for the $6.66, the perfect super chat. $6.66 says, did you say steak? Oh, now you got me all excited. Thank you so much, NA. We do appreciate the support. Really, really do. Thank you very much. Ordinary Jeff says, do what you love and you never work a day in your life. Fucking A. That's absolutely true. Fucking A. But I kind of dig that. That's why I dug this one. I like the family element. I think the family element plays well because then you have the group of individuals who are working who come together, and that the supernatural elements are coming, that are occurring. They don't drive them apart; they bring them together. Something that Steven Spielberg, something that Tobe Hooper, other directors understand that implicitly. Whereas, unfortunately, the remake of 13 Ghosts, it just wasn't there. But I don't think it's because they eschewed. I think they eschewed it in favor of the practical effects. They wanted the ghost to be the focus. That's why all that money was dubbed in. And you have to admit, the jackal, the hammer, what was it, the dire mother and the child, dire mother and child are like that. But all of them were fucking amazing. I thought the jackal was pretty fucking freaky. There's some good ones in there. Absolutely good ones. And of course, the sequence when they're going through the house, looking at the rooms, and Shannon Elizabeth is in the bathroom. Sequences like that are really fucking cool. When she's in the bathroom and then she, because it's the ghost, she can't tell that it's all fucking bloodstained and shit. And like the ghost is right there with her. So there's some solid moments in that one as far as practical effects go. But ultimately, I think the original is better. But that brings me to the question. And I know a lot of people have said already what they dug, but I want to know. Let us know in the comments below. Did you prefer the original 13 Ghosts, the William Castle film, or did you like the remake better, where the focus was more on the ghosts instead of the family? So let us know down in the comments below or at weekinhorror@gmail.com. What did you think? Do you like the original 13 Ghosts better or the remake? Love to hear what you think. NANA says, was the remake the one with the topless ghost? Yes, we did see some ghost boobies in the remake. Nothing like ghost boobies. Travis Brown says, the flashing in the 13 Ghost remake was too much. I can agree with I can see that. Case Cooper did not see either. Well, here's your opportunity, good sir. Here's your opportunity to see them both. Travis Brown says, never seen the OG, so I like the remake lore of the ghost. Well, you can see it. 13 Ghosts is available for free, and I believe it is on Plex. But it is available free to watch online. All you have to do is search it, and you will find it. Out for Blood says, the past couple times I've watched this stream, I've made spooky drawings. Awesome. Very cool. If you want to share your art, feel free to check out the Discord. So in our Discord channel, Week in Horror, the link for that is down in the description. Go, and you can, if you want to share your artwork, there is a horror art channel where you can post up images that you have created if you'd like to share your art with the rest of the horror community. So we'd love to see what you have. Ghost boobies, absolutely. Tesla Radio, good to see you. Says we'll have to watch the original first. Definitely check that out. Like I said, it is free. So definitely see it. Insane Angel says, I haven't seen the original 13 Ghosts, but I will before the end of the week. So far, I really love the remake. Remake is not bad. It's not bad. It's just the focus is different is all it was. So definitely let us know what you thought was the best. All right. On to our next, the last one we have tonight. Oh, I'm going fast. I don't have the extra commentary from the other guys, so we're going quick. But I may spend some time on this one because this one is a fucking head trip. So, released August 5th, 2021. And it's weird because this technically is within the spoiler moratorium, but I don't know what you could really spoil about this. But let's just dive into it. We have this surrealistic horror film, surrealistic stop-motion horror film, Mad God. Let's check out this trailer. I would agree with that. Yes, that was the trailer for Phil Tippett's Mad God. Sir Kevin says this was either a really good, really long Tool music video or a really short, really, really bad acid trip. And absolutely, William Wakefield, it is fascinating. So, yes, that was Mad God, the stop-motion animated experimental horror film, deeply experimental horror film, written and directed and produced by Phil Tippett, with all cinematography done by Phil Tippett. And I have to give some... let me see here real quick. Damn it, because I wanted to make sure, because there were a couple of people, and I don't have the direct cast here, because there were some live action performances that were done in this. The nurse and the doctor, were both live action, and of course they never give his effective name, but the guy with the nails, the fingernails at the very end, were all live action. So the live action stuff was amazing, but it was a few and far between. But ultimately, if you have not seen this film, the movie follows a character, a tall figure shrouded with a jacket and a gas mask, who is called the Assassin, who descends via diving bell into a ruined, hellish world, and appears to be on a mission to deliver a briefcase to a specific location. And in his possession, he's got a map that is slowly crumbling. But then, of course, it's weird because, I mean, that's essentially how the movie kicks off. But where the movie goes is entirely, is okay. It flows beautifully. The movie itself is just stop motion poetry. But of course, that one first assassin that you follow is not where the movie eventually ends, is where the movie eventually comes to. Now, there's ultimately what could be said about this bad boy. First and foremost, it's an absolutely brilliant stop-motion psychodrama. The film, and I think in every single sequence, is an analogy that plays that is a grotesque examination of some of the more cynical and darker aspects of humanity. The one that hit me the hardest, hit me the most, was the idea, because it explores both the idea that human beings both have a specific purpose in mind, but that we never fulfill that purpose, and it acknowledges the cycle of creation and destruction that humanity seems completely, bound, like almost, destined for, or you're so inextricably bound to, that we cannot help ourselves, that we must complete the cycle over and over again, which ostensibly says that is real life, because it never says that he's descending down into hell, but he's descending into a kind of ruined, hellish world. So is the world that he's in what the world will become at its, coming towards its end, or is this, where we are kind of like I would say the personification of a lot of our problems. And the one that hit me the hardest, obviously, is the opening sequence, and they were showcasing the idea that human beings wear like these, because it showcases like these people being like these entities, which say what I interpreted them to be is like the soul. It's like souls of human beings, literally being shat into existence, scraped together of filth and shit and hair and grossness, and they mill about, and they do jobs, and they're pretty much functionally aimless, and they just basically go about, and they are taken advantage of by the grander elements all around them, either destroying them or torturing them, or completely abandoning them and leaving them alone. Just they wander about and they do what they do, and just absolutely pointless, the pointless nature of their existence. And if they do happen to get killed or they're destroyed, then they are scooped up, cleaned up, and they're thrown into a trash pile, where then they are grabbed by industrial machinery, dumped back into the system, and reformed over and over and over again. And this cycle just repeats over and over again. The idea of circularity runs throughout the entire fucking movie, even to the point when the original assassin finds himself shackled up and stripped down and in that operation table and is absolutely torn apart by this surgeon. And before he pulls that fucking thing out of him, and that goes into a whole nother story, which is just so beautifully shot. The combination of just the beauty and the grotesqueries that you see in this is just mind-boggling. But then when he bores into his head, when he uses the drill bit to bore into his head, and then puts the scope into his brain, and then sees kind of like the idea of what's going on here, and then the cycle begins again, and then so on and so forth, because this is a mission that many assassins have been sent on, as we see. So the Alchemist, I thought the animation of the Alchemist was absolutely brilliant. That was the figure that comes out and takes the larva creature and then takes it to the laboratory. So, which creates this kind of like the idea of from the death of one thing can come the birth of another. And so utilizing the death of this entity, this kind of larva-like entity, to create new cosmos and begin the cycle again, and it just goes over and over and over again, is wonderful. There's so many pieces that you can take from this film. And Phil Tippett, has to be said, absolute legend. Worked on Star Wars, worked on RoboCop, worked on RoboCop 2, worked on I think RoboCop as well, worked on Jurassic Park, and eventually got together. And I think, and initially he kind of kicked off his career after watching Ray Harryhausen's The Seventh Voyage of Sinbad, which is where he kind of got the idea of what he wanted to do. So he's working in stop motion, and eventually had this idea for Mad God that percolated over a long period of time, because he got into it in 1975. And so slowly but surely, to this point, it took forever. I think the film itself, Mad God, was in production for, as he was putting it together piece in piece. So he said, from him, 20 years later, with the encouragement of members of his studio, Tippett began working on the project again. So he was nickel and diming Mad God as the years went by, utilizing crews of volunteers to come in and assist him. On the weekends, he would get like 15 to 20 people coming around. They didn't all have the talent or skill, but figure out the process during the week. He'd have them do the heavy lifting, and then was able to complete production with Kickstarter donations, and then eventually dropped it. And he brought in Richard Beggs. And the reason that the film has this wonderfully haunting score and the sound in it is so visceral, that is accomplished because he brought in Academy Award-winning sound designer Richard Beggs to do the sound mixing and sound design for the entire project. So what he's put together is an absolute, I would say, would be his magnum opus. A true exploration of both the innate beauty and the innate grotesqueries of the human experience, as splayed out across the hell that we create for ourselves. Now, each and every piece you can pick out different things and interpret them in different ways, which I found really intriguing. Sir Kevin says, don't forget the universe was cursed for the whole Tower of Babel thing. Oh, great, yeah. So, but yeah, that's the monoliths from 2001. They bring that and they shoot the monoliths out. Those monoliths kick off new civilizations. It's really, really phenomenally interesting stuff. Oh, thank you so much, NANA, for who gifted 5 Weekend Horror memberships out there. So congratulations to Charles Helson, P. Barnes 2, Jeremy Duncan, Jimmy G, for as new members of the Army of the Dead. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, NANA. So I will admit, there are moments throughout that require some stomach. There's some really, really grotesque shit in this that some people might not be able to, there's the more squeamish might not be able to handle it, but there's some really, really beautiful stuff in it as well. The detail is absolutely amazing. And I think, stop motion is a lost art. Going all the way back to Ray Harryhausen, to the work of Ray Harryhausen, and then looking at stuff like, I love the Tool music videos that were also stop motion. But it obviously, I think, is quickly becoming a lost art. The people who are willing to take the time to really dedicate themselves to making that happen. You look at Winter Beast. Winter Beast is an example of when you really try to do it, and then you recognize just how fucking hard it is. when you know, trying to go in there and be like, oh shit, what's detailed in making stop motion solid. I think that's the problem with it, where it can go wrong. But when you have a mind like Phil Tippett and you have this, you know, this both this fascination and love for that medium, I think that's why it works so well. For those who have not seen this, I strongly recommend it. It is currently streaming for free on Shudder. Take some time. You know, it's definitely a mind bender. It will make you think, and even some of the more grotesque shit will really make you think. I really dug it. I love the idea that, you know, set it almost backdropped against kind of like an almost World War II setting, because the imagery that is so iconic, the trenches and the barbed wire and the explosions off in the distance, and then of course again, you know, backdrop against the idea of nuclear proliferation, nuclear war, and how, you know, the things that we do to one another, which is why this one is so fascinating. The horror is really, but it's both psychological and in what you view. Some of the shit that you view that you see in this is really fucking grotesque, but is made all the more poignant by what it's saying about us. So this is a big hats off to Phil Tippett, who managed to knock it out of the fucking park with some phenomenal work. You know, and even the combinations done with puppetry and live action, which I thought were absolutely brilliant. Yes, Tesla Radios is going to watch as soon as we are done. Absolutely, check this film out. It is fun. I would have loved to hear what Eugene's take, and of course Johnny's take, and I would have loved to hear all the rest of the guys' take on this particular movie, because of all the movies we've talked about, the over 800 films we've talked about here on Week in Horror, this is the first time we've gotten to talk about and like a legit animated film, which is an animated horror film. We have another one coming up here pretty soon, if I remember that one. If I think that's called "This Is Where You Die," I think is or "This Is How You Die." I think coming up. Oh shit, where did it go? I'm checking out the schedule right now. Soultangler, like this. To Your Last Death. To Your Last Death is an entirely animated horror film. And I'm looking forward to talking about that one, because that one's just like, you know, like straight to like, I think cell shaded animation. So I'm looking forward to talking about that one. But this is the first time we got to talk about a movie that really got outside of the boundaries of just, you know, of just basic actors on film, which I really, really dug. Horror can exist in all mediums, and I think that there is a unique energy and a unique visual style to stop motion that allows that conveys that in a way that I think a lot of us may not be entirely comfortable with. Think about the stop motion that you grew up with. You're talking about like Gumby, you know, Gumby and Pokey, and fucking the early Ray Harryhausen stuff. It speaks to us on a particular level that harkens back to our childhood. And then you look at something like this, and it's like those nostalgic feelings come back, and they play on a really adult scale, a terrifying adult scale. And I think that that's what makes this one really disturbing. Sarcasm says, I highly recommend this one. It's nihilistic and disturbing, but a real cinematic masterpiece. It absolutely is. Casey Cooper says, the assassin reminded me of Wizards by Ralph Bakshi. Oh, very nice. Oh, I agree. I can see some there. Yeah, absolutely. I would actually love to be able to try and cosplay at the next horror convention I go to cosplay as the assassin and see if anybody recognizes it. Just walk around the convention with that briefcase, stop and occasionally check your map, and then like walk around. I'd see if anybody recognizes it. I think that would be a badass cosplay. And of course, you're at a horror convention, so I think that would be very apropos. Oh, let me see here. Well, I thought I saw a comment. Ronaldo Sam says, Robocop 2, the prototype shooting the scientist in itself, one of my favorite stop motion moments. Fucking A. Hell yes. Hell yes. All right. But when it comes down to it, being a stop motion film, which I thought was really, really fucking cool. Just, really saves it. But it made me think about other horror projects that are non-live action, that are in the non-live action medium. While there was some live action performances that were put in this, obviously the nurse, the alchemist, the doctor, the vast majority of it was animated and stop motion animation. So my curiosity is, what is y'all's favorite, or what do you think is the best non-live action horror film? A horror film done outside of the realm of like live action, just whether it was animated, whether it was stop motion, whether it's completely CGI. Let us know down in the comments below, of course, at weekinhorror@gmail.com, what your favorite, what you think the best non-live action horror film has been. There's not a terrible amount of them because it's difficult to play and it's difficult to really dive into that. But there are some good selections. So let us know down in the comments below or at weekinhorror@gmail.com. I honestly think that Mad God is one of the best, one of the absolute best. But then again, To Your Last Death was also really fucking good. So love to hear what you guys think. Josh releases Perfect Blue. Awesome. This Mad God has really stuck with me. It will absolutely stick with you and make you think. You may even have to watch it twice. So, absolutely. Strongly recommend this one for anybody who wants to have that experience outside of I would say the mainstream. Because you typically see actors on screen over and over and over again, blood, gore, all this stuff. Really get into this. And it brings a Fast Fury. Awesome. All right. Well, it's a little early, but when it's a solo show, we tend to run pretty quick. Oh, Travis Brown brings a Monster House. Very cool. Insane Angel says, "Hey JL, have you seen the horror Black Sheep film?" I fucking have. New Zealand horror is amazing, and it was fucking hilarious too. Hilarious and really gross. Like the entrails pit and where sheep. Fucking that movie is hilarious. Both her, obviously Weta, because Weta Effects was behind the special effects in that, so they look amazing. But I love that one. Bloody animals, cannibalistic or just like carnivorous sheep, just fucking amazing. Oh, Heavy Metal is good too. Heavy Metal is some fantastic stuff. Jeremy Duncan, good to see you. Says, "I gotta say, I love that Jason figure in the back with the water glow effect." That's my boy back there. Full size Friday the 13th Part 7 Jason. That's my boy. Say hi, man. Fucking love him back there. It's fantastic. And thank you. I love you. I set up the water effect so it would look like he's underwater. So yeah, I did to take that one. All right. So seeing as how we've come near to the end, I ran a little quick. It's only about an hour and a half in, but that's okay. It happens. It's a solo show, so you never know what will happen. But because we finished talking about our films, you all know what time it is. I know Angel Rivera knows what time it is. Raven Darkstar knows what time it is. It's trivia time. Yes, trivia time. It is trivia time here at Week in Horror. This is what keeps the people watching. This is the opportunity to win some swag or to win some stuff from the Week in Horror store. So, for the first person to get the correct answer to this in the live chat, and I had the live chat pulled up here on my phone so I can see everybody coming in. Let me see here. Make sure I'm on all messages. Fantastic. All right. The first person to get the correct answer to this trivia question gets a special item, a mystery item from the Week in Horror store. You can check out all the cool stuff that we have. The link for our Teespring is down in the description below. All kinds of cool stuff. Stickers and phone cases and t-shirts and limited edition t-shirts and coffee mugs, all kinds of cool stuff. But here we go. So get those Google fingers ready. Your trivia question for tonight is, there's more. What was the first ever stop motion horror film? What was the first ever stop motion horror film? First person with the correct answer in the live chat wins a special prize from the Week in Horror store. Tesla Radio says The Ring of Power. and actually, just really, I'll say this really early on. This is an old film. But what was the first ever stop motion horror film? Rodeo Last Name's of King Kong. Close, bud. But yeah, Casey Cooper got it with Haunted Hotel. And then they say Clash of the Titans. Liam Wakefield and Sarcasm are also right there with Haunted Hotel. Angel Rivera as well. Haunted Hotel in 1907. And St. Angel said The Haunted Hotel. Absolutely. It was The Haunted Hotel. Came out in 1907. The first ever stop motion horror film. Congratulations, Casey Cooper, who nailed that. Let me make sure I got that right. Haunted Hotel. Casey Cooper won it. Congratulations, Casey. Let me get your name down. Casey Cooper won that. We will get that prize from the Week in Horror store printed out and shipped to you ASAP. Well, look who decided to join us. Colin, definitely not Cromwell, is in the house. Says, I'm really late. You are pretty late, man. Michelle with 1L. Good to see you, Michelle. And I saw you pop in earlier. Probably just not saying hi, but good to see you. But Casey Cooper, well done. Congratulations. We're going to get that printed out to you, shipped out real quick. And remember, if you have won a prize from the Week in Horror Trivia, from the trivia we do every single week, let us know. Show us. When you get it, send us a picture of it. In the Discord channel, we have a show your swag channel. So you can post up, the cool stuff you get, like the pint glasses and the coffee mugs and the t-shirts that we get. If you pick something up, let us know what you got. Because some look real, like I know, like Travis Brown, won the I think most recently won one of our hoodies, and our fucking hoodies look amazing because they have the limited edition artwork from season 1 on there, which is like me as the zombie eating, attacking the other guys. But yeah, all kinds of cool stuff on there. Really, really fun stuff. And we are so excited because we are screaming towards the season finale of season 4. And of course, new artwork from Joshua Olsen coming up, all kinds of cool stuff. And we have just a really neat surprise in store. I cannot wait to share all of this with you. So friggin' I'm stoked. It's gonna be a seriously fun time. And of course, because we've just done trivia time, that means horror fiends, horror fans. That's gonna close out this week's episode of the Week in Horror podcast. Thank you all so much for joining us. We truly hope you enjoyed the show. And if you did, smash those like and subscribe buttons. And be sure to hit that bell so you never miss a future episode. Join us next week when we look back at the creepifying anthology, A Night of Horror, Nightmare Radio, the final Coffin Joe film, Embodiment of Evil, the unintentional zaniness of The Deadly Bees, and Death's Design coming full circle in Final Destination 5. Be sure to check out Josh Olsen's store at badsamurai.store. He does all of the awesome artwork that you see splattered all over our merchandise, which you can find over at Teespring. And for more from Week in Horror, check out all the bloody links that are down in the description. Follow us on the socials for the daily splatter, your daily horror recommendation. Join our Discord for watch parties, big announcements, behind-the-scenes stuff, and all kinds of horror shenanigans. And support the show through our channel memberships, which are here on YouTube, and Super Chats, or PayPal link. Or, through our Patreon as well. So many ways you can support the show. You can join the higher tiers on Patreon for early content access and behind-the-scenes fun with us, like be a special guest judge during our Bloodbath debates, or come hang out during the After Dark. Or you can just support us for as little as $1 a month. $1 a month, and you can support the show. What are you all waiting for? Join us. As always, thank you, every single one of you, each and every one of you, for being the greatest audience that a little horror podcast like us could possibly have. I am JL, and I sign off for all the guys who are out, for all the other members of the crew. Y'all are freaking amazing. We love you. We will see you all next week. And as always, stay scared.